Welcome to All In for Estacada Schools. Joined by School Superintendent Ryan Carpenter, we'll be taking an in-depth look into the work, the data, the wins, and the fun that's happening every day in the Estacada School District.
Hey, welcome back and happy Monday. Today, I'm excited to be following up briefly on the rollout of our back to school plan that we shared with families last week. I'll also be talking about growth in our district and portables. I'm glad you're here today, staying up to date on the busy summer before the 2021-22 school year. So thanks for joining. Let's plug in and get all in for Estacada Schools.
What is the number one thing that you think makes the Estacada School District premier?
Well, I have a deep love for the Estacada School District, and I believe what makes it premier is the people, both its citizens, community, and its employees. The Estacada School District and Estacada community has so much resilience and resolve, and they are authentically passionate about the success of Estacada itself. It has been a privilege to be able to live and work inside this community, and I'm just excited for its future. We're going to continue to make innovative adjustments to allow our school district to continue to rise to that premier mountaintop that we all desire for it to be, and I'm just excited to be one of the many leaders on this drive, and I look forward to building a deeper bench that allows us to execute premier things for the children inside the Estacada School District.
Hot Topics.
You may have noticed that growth is happening in the Estacada School District. It is our belief that growth is inevitable in our community, and we will continue to prepare proactively and make every new child feel welcome in their neighborhood schools. So how are we preparing for growth? I've invited the district's Executive Director of Operations, Mike Waer, with us to speak a bit about this topic. So Mike, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you think makes the Estacada School District premier?
Thanks, Ryan. Happy to be here. I am the Executive Director of Operations for the Estacada School District. I've been here for about 2 years and really excited about being this opportunity to talk with you about today. What I think also makes the district premier is the people as well, but also the innovation and forward thinking that we have. We were leading the way in the state on reopening with our Zoom rooms, our contact tracking systems, and just our ability to adjust and pivot on a dime when we need to.
That's awesome. So we're talking about capacity a little bit today and continuous growth inside the Estacada community. What is our capacity looking like at each of our buildings? And can you talk a little bit maybe about population distribution, things like that?
Sure. You know, we're really bursting at the seams at the elementary level right now. We're seeing a big growth, and we see it all over as you go out into the community. Houses are popping up quite a bit very, very quickly. And so we're seeing that at Rivermill Elementary, we're about 100% capacity of our classrooms, and we don't have any room left where we have an increase of enrollment. Clackamas River Elementary is seeing some growth as well, not at that 100%, more of the 85, 90%, but we're still seeing that, you know, as more families are coming in, we're going to have some issues with classroom space. The middle school is, again, those students coming from the elementary, we're seeing the capacity going up higher as well. And we're losing I think we have about 90% capacity at the middle school. High school, we have a little bit more room. This building was built back in the day when we had the logging industry. And so we can fit a lot of students in this school. However, you know, we have support services utilizing space. And as we see that influx of people coming to this city and enrolling in our district, we're going to have issues later on in the future.
Yeah. And it's such a challenge for us as a school district to try to be proactive and predict a future where the future is coming at us very, very quickly. So what options are we considering as a school district? And of course, I've been a part of many of these conversations and dialogues with our community. But could you just kind of share a little bit about the processes that we have taken as we've taken the lead on planning for growth and how we intend to support the growth as a comes in, what kind of things did we look at, and what kind of things did you work with our stakeholders on when working for this?
Well, ultimately, the long-term goal is to have something permanent in our districts to support the enrollment. And so we did look at that to see what that would take and the cost and the time. We also started looking at what portables or module units would look like at our district. And ultimately, it comes down to that cost and time. Right now, we know that materials and lumber is very expensive, average 400 to 500 per square feet. So if we were going to build a building like the annex that were at Rivermill, which was built in 2002, I believe, with our last bond, that'd be about a $3 to $4 million project, and we wouldn't be able to get it completed by the new school year. So we shifted our focus on portables. We know that portables in itself are a fairly simple structure, and we have to get them built, but we know that we're able to get those quicker than a brand new permanent building. We also have a portable unit, existing one that we haven't used for a number of years. So we decided that we will invest some of our ESSER 3 funds in renovating that and then moving that portable over to Rivermill.
Yeah, very good. And one of the things that I like that you said, which is important, I think, for the community to hear, is it would be nice to build an annex much like Rivermill has with a gymnasium and 4 additional classrooms. But we've got to think of, for every dollar we put into building an infrastructure, is a dollar ultimately that we take out of the classroom and supporting our students. And so to build a $3 to $4 million project out of our own general fund would be a drastic impact to the current kids receiving educational services here. And so we did try to be fiscally responsible and responsive, and utilize an already existing portable building. And we're just going to relocate that onto the Rivermill campus. And the ESSER 3 funds that Director Waer is referring to is the money that came from the federal grant, which is stimulus money to help us get kids back to school during this pandemic and make sure that our schools are safe. And so because we're in a fiscally sound spot inside our school district, we're able to utilize some of these monies to prepare for growth and make sure that our schools are safe and reopen, and it can accommodate everybody coming onto campus, which ultimately we're using federal dollars. So even this investment into portables is not tapping into the general fund there. So very excited about that, and a lot of great work has been into that. So one of the things that always comes up, at least as we talk about portables, not only in our community, but in communities like ours, is safety. Can you talk to me a little bit about some of the plans that we've put in place to ensure that kids who are experiencing their educational opportunities in these portable classrooms are still as safe as other kids in the building?
Sure, yeah, they ultimately will be very safe. We'll be integrating our portables with fire and life systems to make sure that they're integrated with any kind of fire alarms and our access control. Obviously, doors will remain locked, and they're behind fenced areas. So they're going to be located pretty close to our main building. So monitoring and making sure that our students are safe will be our priority.
Very good. And what do you think the long-term plan looks like here? I mean, what is this? This is just the beginning of growth in Estacada, and how are we working towards this growth?
Yeah, I've been asked that question, how long are the portables going to be here? And my estimate, based off, what we're trending, is 3 to 5 years, hopefully. One of the things that our district, have been advocating for is passing a bond and looking at that growth. Being able to build something permanent, I think, is our ultimate goal. Where that is, there's a lot of discussion about where that would locate, but again, we need to address our capacity, and eventually Clackamas River is going to see it too, and we're going to need to have those discussions as well.
There's no doubt we're running out of capacity, both at Rivermill Elementary School, which we're already at capacity, but Clackamas River and the middle school as well, as Executive Director Mike Waer shared with you all today. For a couple times now, we've tried to ask our community to support this capacity through a school bond or a construction bond. And at some point, as we talk about being that premier district and accommodating both the new families coming in and our current families who are born and raised in our community, we're going to need to look into how we as an organization and how we as a whole community are going to invest in that premier education for our kids. Premier means competitive. Premier means the same opportunities that kids from other communities get. Premier means recruiting and retaining the most talented workforce to work with our kids. And in order for us to reach those premier statuses and the goals that we all have and the wishes that we all have for our children inside this community, we do need to go back to the table and think about how we as a community are going to invest in our local education and into the capacity that, ready or not, is coming our way. And so these portables are a temporary adjustment to make sure that we still have the ability and capacity to serve all kids who enter through our doors. But as we engage in this conversation deeper into the future, there's going to need to be some form of investment from our community that comes into that. And I'm very excited to lead that conversation and to answer any questions or concerns that comes about. But I just want to thank Executive Director Mike Waer today for joining us on this podcast. We hope that this helped clarify some communications of the what, why, and how we're installing our portables, and in hopes that we can continue to offer a premier education to your child. Please feel free to email and ask questions through various social media networks to allow us to continue to engage in this conversation. But thank you, Mike, for coming today, and great job in all that you've done. The facilities look amazing, and you are a premier contribution to our school district.
Thank you, Ryan. I'd also like to just thank the community for asking those, tough questions. And so we have this opportunity to talk more about portables. And I just encourage you to go to the operations website where we're tracking this project through pictures and other data collection. There's our capital improvement project application on there that you can track all capital improvements that are happening in the district outside of portables. We're doing a number of things this summer.
What's in Ryan's inbox?
Well, this week I received 739 emails. So emails in the middle of July are starting to reduce. I'm very happy about that. I'm averaging 148 emails a day. And I'm also pleased that over the course of a week, I was able to reduce my response time to 7 hours and 25 minutes. And so my quick and timely response to you and your concerns is important to me. And I'm pleased to see growth in that area this week. The number one theme inside the superintendent's email inbox this week was face coverings. Face coverings continues to be a very hot topic, not only inside the Estacada community, but throughout the state of Oregon and throughout the United States of America. I just wanted to take this moment to again clarify that I know everybody has a strong opinion and strong belief on what their school district should do when it comes to wearing face masks or face coverings. And I've received a lot of emails on both sides. And it's important to remember that even though your opinion is very strong and you believe deeply in your thoughts about face coverings, there are people on the other side who have the exact same strong beliefs. And so the challenge for me is being able to work through the passion, the concern, and the fortitude that's coming from both different opinions that are coming into my inbox. And so I'm trying my best to listen to them. I'm trying my best to respond respectfully as we do our best to follow the state CDC and Oregon Health Authority guidance and recommendations. So again, I want to make this just very clear. The Estacada School District is not saying that face masks are mandatory. The Estacada School District is not saying that face masks are banished or abolished. We are allowing families to make their own decisions of what they'd like their child to do while coming onto campus. It is important to note that the Estacada School District highly recommends that any child and or adult that comes onto campus that is not vaccinated, we recommend that they wear a face covering because that is what the medical experts are recommending at this point. And we're going to follow that lead. However, At the end of the day, it is the family's decision and it is the employee's decision if they choose to wear a face covering or not. And so some of the things I read in my email or on social media is a very loud voice that says face masks should be optional, exclamation mark. My response to you is they are. They are optional. You get to make that choice. And we're very proud and pleased that we're able to put this choice back onto the individual and not have to make that decision for the family. One additional caveat I do have to communicate about face coverings is on our transportation and buses. Earlier in the planning development, we were hoping that face coverings could be optional for families on the buses. However, the Oregon Department of Education has just communicated with schools around the state that because transportation is a public and federal process. I mentioned in a couple podcasts before when I talked about the 1 mile radius that we get reimbursed for transportation through the federal government. And all federal transportation, airplanes, public transit buses, school buses are all under the guise of the federal government. And so the federal government has communicated to all states that at this point, July, at this point, all students are required to wear face coverings who are going to be riding on public transportation, including yellow school buses. So at this point, if you plan on sending your child on one of Estacada's great and safe school buses, they will need to be wearing a face covering while boarding the bus and riding on the bus. However, once they arrive at school, the choice comes back to the family and the child. Now it's July. That's subject to change before the start of school, but at this point, all face coverings are optional on campus, but they are required when riding a yellow school bus. I just want to conclude with something that I think is also very important, and it's going to take an entire community to establish this culture. Because I would say my guess is, based on the volume of emails and what I'm getting from listening and talking and engaging with our community, roughly 70% of our community will most likely support or not be wearing face masks to school or inside or around our community. And about 30% of our community will still continue to wear face coverings. It's important for the Estacada School District that we make sure everybody who walks into our doors feels welcome and safe. And so if there are families who do choose to wear face coverings or send their child to school in a face covering, we need to welcome that, we need to accept that, and we need to respect that decision. And the same is on the other foot. If a child chooses to, or if a family chooses to send their child to school who is unvaccinated and is not wearing a mask, we need to welcome that, accept that, and respect that decision. And so that starts with the adults inside our community, and that starts with the employees inside our school district organization. And it's a culture we need to establish immediately so that all kids feel comfortable and ready to learn. Because at the end of the day, our number one priority is to educate Estacada's children. And we need to be able to create a safe and welcoming environment for all to be able to accomplish and execute that number one goal. So that's the number one email in my inbox today. I will continue to respond to you as you communicate your personal concerns. Just be open and open-minded that there are many different opinions about face coverings, and the Estacada School District is going to continue to follow the guidelines and recommendations from the state. So unless told to do otherwise, face masks are optional, and they are a family and or employee decision for the 21-22 school year. I just want to thank everybody who's taking the time to just dig deeper with me on some of the very hot topic and tough challenges that we are facing as a public school district, really focused intensely on being a premier organization that educates Estacada's kids. You're taking your time in the middle of summer to stay connected, and I'm so greatly appreciative of that. Tune in next week as we continue to talk about these hot topics and stay all in for Estacada Schools. I'm Ryan Carpenter. I serve as your superintendent. Have a great week. This is a great time to be living inside the Estacada School District.